Today I'm going to show you how to make a collage that is balanced and also has really good craftsmanship, and it is neatly done. So if you're finding images that are not the whole page, just cut out that little corner so if somebody else wants the rest of it, they can have it. If you need a whole page, tear out the whole page, okay? Especially if you know that you're going to use it. I like to use the whole pages from the National Geographics as the background because I don't like taking up the entire page of the paper that I am gluing everything on. So since these are smaller images, I like to use them for the background so that I will have some negative space to work with. So I'm just flipping through and trying to find any images that I think would work for my collage idea. I am trying to go with a lot of cool colors, a lot of warm colors, and general theme is nature. And this definitely meets my personal aesthetic, but it also goes along with a message that I'm trying to convey. And I was hoping that I could find a quote as well, and I did find one. I was lucky enough to find one. If you cannot find the exact quote that you want, you can make the quote that you want by cutting out individual letters from the magazine and gluing them next to each other to create the quote that you want. So then when you get all of your magazine images torn out, then it's time to start cutting. You want to cut pretty slowly and make sure things have a lot of the straight edges if it's going to be the background, and that things are cut out properly and very, very neatly. So when you are cutting things out, my biggest tip is that you should keep the scissors at the same exact angle almost the entire time, and then only move the paper. If you are cutting around certain images and you are trying to cut specific shapes, definitely just move the paper around and keep the scissors moving straight, like just making the cutting motion. And if you can see here, all that I'm doing is I am keeping the scissors almost at the exact same angle the whole entire time, and then I'm rotating the paper. I'm making sure that the paper is moving so that when I clamp down on the scissors and make those cuts, it is cutting the part that I need, okay? So then what I'm doing is going back in and cutting out those little details that I did not get with the water in the middle of them. And so then now I'm going to cut out this man in the boat with a ton of flowers. And I'm doing the same thing. Leave the scissors at the same angle and then move the paper, rotate the paper. You want the paper to be what is moving. Do not try and move the scissors at all those angles. You are going to hurt your wrist trying to cut at those weird angles, okay? So definitely rotate the paper. Keep the scissors at an angle that is comfortable for you. Do not rotate the scissors when you are cutting out a very specific shape or something with details, okay? There is an exception to that. If you are cutting something out that is straight, you can move the scissors and hold the paper straight. So here's the example for that. So like I am cutting all of these with a straight border, and I'm kind of cutting the scissors or moving the scissors to the side and cutting so that it has an even border. And then that's not really rotating the paper as much as it would be when you are trying to cut out very specific shapes like I am right here. Like, look how much I am rotating that paper, okay? And when you are cutting out those little itty tiny details like these catfish whiskers, you want to make sure that you don't accidentally cut them off while you are rotating the paper. So please make sure you're paying attention to that. And it's okay if the details are super, super tiny like this, because they're not going to be just floating around for years hoping that whenever you need them, you can use them and they won't be ripped up. You're literally going to glue them down, so it's okay. And when you glue them down, you're not going to be using a whole lot of glue. They're not going to get all soggy and everything, but you are going to use enough glue that it's going to put it exactly where it needs to be. Now I'm just cutting out this very specific individual fish that I really wanted. And again, rotating the paper, not the scissors. And so I'm just gathering up all of the trash, all of the little tiny pieces, and I'm going to go throw them away because I do not want to have a messy workstation. I know that I wanted to cut out this deer, but I did not want it to be a rectangle, and I did not want to cut it out exactly. I wanted it to be kind of like an oval, so I had some variation in the shapes. So now here I am, and I'm just trying to adjust this and try and figure out, how do I want this? How am I going to incorporate all of these pieces that I've cut out? So I was able to find that I definitely wanted the guy in the boat with the flowers on this sunset kind of fiery background. I think that looks really great. So I'm making 3 different arrangements, and I'm going to try and figure out which arrangement I like the best. I'm going to work with just rearranging, trying to figure out if I like any of my ideas. And sometimes the best one will be the first one, but oftentimes it's not. Oftentimes the best composition comes from the last try. Okay, so if you need to do 10 compositions, you can. You don't have to only do 3. You don't have to only do 5. You don't have to only do 1. I highly suggest you not doing only 1. And I think that 3 to 5 compositions is the best. So once you have a few arrangements that you like, then you should have pictures of them. I highly suggest taking pictures of them so that if you're like, man, I liked that first one I did, or I like that second one I did, you can easily go back and reference them and then make sure that you actually put them exactly back where you had them. And so here I am. I'm like, you know what? I think that this is the one that I really want. I actually really loved putting the quote at the bottom. I think that looked really, really good. So instead of doing it on white paper, I'm going to do it on black paper. I think that'll look better. And I am not using a ton of glue. I literally put a line of glue around the edge, and then I took the glue bottle and I took the orange part of the glue bottle, tilted it to the side, and I'm smearing the glue everywhere. So there's a very thin, even layer of glue. If you do not have it as a thin, even layer of glue, you will have your paper be soggy. You do not want soggy paper. That is how you get the wrinkles. If it is not glued down everywhere, you will get the wrinkles if you only glue it in a line. Like just right there, if I only did that line, it would be a wrinkly line. So what I'm doing is I'm spreading glue around the entire paper, making it very thin layer, and then making sure that it is everywhere so that my paper does not get wrinkly, does not get soggy, and does not look bad. All right, so then now I am gluing everything down and trying to make sure that I'm putting them in the same spot as I had them from when I was like, hey, I like this arrangement. So for those little tiny details, I am putting what seems like a lot of glue on those little pieces, and it was a lot of glue. Glue ended up kind of seeping out the edges, so you want to use as little glue as possible. If you end up using too much glue, you can always get a paper towel and wipe your edges, but you definitely want to make sure that you are using a thin, even layer of glue. I do not recommend using glue sticks for this project because the magazines typically come unglued within, a couple weeks, a couple months, especially if they're being hung up in the classroom, being hung up at your house. I just really feel like collage is not good for glue sticks if you're doing it in the school setting, or if you're doing it with just like Elmer's glue sticks or with the purple glue sticks. You definitely, if you're gonna use glue sticks, should use the high-end, very expensive craft glue sticks. So I noticed that some of the corners were not glued down all the way, so I made sure that I lifted them up, put some more glue. Now I'm just trying to figure out where I'm gonna put this fish, if I want them at an angle or if I want them straight. I decided I'm gonna put them at an angle, and then I just took my paper towel, cleaned off the excess glue, and then now I'm cleaning up my mess. And there you go.